Greetings, everybody. It's John Kranz. I want to welcome you to our first town hall meeting. We're joined today by Bill Thomas, president and owner of Compass Games, and we're going to be taking all your questions today. One thing just to note, just some basic housekeeping is looks like the Facebook live stream is not functioning right now. So I've gone ahead and posted on our Facebook page that you can post your questions live via YouTube. So there's a link on Facebook now. I'm hoping people will notice it and they'll join us on YouTube Live, where questions can also be posted there. So again, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. How are you doing today, Bill?
Oh, good. And you?
Real good, thanks. And it's been about 2 weeks since we spoke last. So 2 weeks ago, we did a broadcast with Ty Bomba, and then you also did a broadcast with Rob Orrin of War and Pieces as well. So you've been pretty busy lately. So what's happened in the last week or two for you?
Well, it's just been busy. I know brief border wars, I'll say this, will be shipping on Monday. Okay, so that will start shipping on Monday. Paper Wars 95 is where we just approved the magazine to be printed. And so that's about 2 weeks away. So we're always busy doing, okay. What I wanted to do was make this a forum where I'll answer any questions you have. If they're negative, I have no problem answering negative questions. Okay. I think what we need to do, or what I need to do, is really hopefully educate people and fill them in on sort of what Compass is all about and what makes Compass very special. Okay. And that's why I want to do these interviews, or do these town hall, which is what John calls it, to really let people know the philosophy of Compass and why what Compass has done is very unique. And in my overview, I'll just say that Compass is unique in the situation that we make decisions that really affect us today. Okay, and that is, one of the things is I wanted our products to be made in the US as much as possible. Okay, and our games have been made 95 to 100% in the US since we started. Okay, and the reason for that is obviously we live in America, and I just thought it was the right thing to do. Okay, so we were a new company on the stage of wargaming elites. Wargaming companies that have been in business for a long time. They all had their special people, okay, people in the hobby, the elites of the hobby. Okay, Compass were at one time were 3 unknown people. Okay, the hobby didn't know us. And so we take the position, or I took the position, I wanted it to be made in the US. So not only are we in that situation, okay, but I take another business thing that very few new businesses do. They say, hey, I'm going to be higher than everybody because I'm going to make it in the US. So I put myself in a situation where I have a strike against me right there. Okay, then I say pre-orders don't mean anything. Okay, I like them, but they're not going to determine if I make the game or not. Okay, which is, again, a thing that's not a thing that's done in the hobby. So one is, and there's a couple, I'm not saying nobody doesn't make games in the US, but not a new company. Okay, not a company that wasn't well established when they came out with Made in the USA. Okay, we did it from day one as new, so we were always higher, and we've always gotten the bad rap on that. Okay. And again, we had no pre-order system. Okay, we take pre-orders, don't get me wrong, but it's not, I don't need to reach a number for me to print a game. I print the game when I feel it's ready to be printed. Okay, and that could be, games are in the hopper for anywhere from 2 to 4 years before we print them. Okay, so.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I think I think we're starting to get the word out pretty good. I know it's something we didn't really emphasized before, but in the last few weeks, between our last Compass broadcast and with the War and Pieces broadcast, we had specific questions around pricing. How's the pricing model work at Compass, which gets into the obviously gets into that printing in the USA, because that obviously is a factor, overriding factor in terms of driving price point. And then people do have questions about pre-order system. How does the pre-order work at Compass Games? So just to reconfirm what you just said is, when you do a pre-order, you're not looking for a certain number of votes or pre-orders to decide if you're going to publish the game or not.
Correct. The pre-orders in Compass is not a funding mechanism. Okay, very different. It's not a funding mechanism. It's a bottom line mechanism, meaning the pre-orders mean I get 25, 30% of my I get 70% of my retail price. Okay, so I make more money, obviously, on a pre-order than I would selling it to distribution. And so I don't think people understand distribution. I sell it at 55 to 50% off retail. So when I sell to distribution and to stores, okay, I'm getting 55 to 55% less than my retail price. But no, the pre-order system is strictly a bottom line issue. It's never been a funding issue. Okay, I've made decisions to publish games that have 75 pre-orders. Okay, because for me, I like the game and I'm going to publish it. So that's where, again, that's where we came out of the gate so different than anything that's ever been done in this hobby by one company. It might be done differently in different companies, but we're made in the US. We had the pre-order system.
Yeah.
We have games. Nobody has a bigger variety of games than we do. Topics, I mean. Okay. I'll publish 4 games on World War I, and they've all done well.
People have said that. So I think maybe it was the last broadcast, and we actually get deeper questions. So we actually get at a higher level questions like, how do you decide what games to do? What's your process to doing games? So those are very big topics. I'm not saying we should go there now, but yeah, to your point, recently a customer commented that looks like you've got 4 or 5 strategic World War I games. How did that happen? Was it by accident? So how do you answer that question? So if a customer says to you, you've got 4 or 5 games on the same topic, how'd that happen? How do you answer that, Bill?
Okay, how that happens is we had numerous designers come to us over a period of time and said they had a World War I game that they wanted us to take a look at. Okay, and I took a look at them, and I liked them. So it was, if we didn't have designers designing them, I wouldn't publish them, because again, it's what people have an interest in. And I think what people had an interest in at that period of time was World War I was going through their 100th anniversary. Okay, I think that's right. Yeah, from 2014 to 2018. So we got designers who were just interested in that topic. Now, I don't know if that's what the real thing is, but I'm just saying what happens is I get the game, or John gets the game. Okay, we play through it, and if we like it, okay, then it goes to the next step. Okay, so that it's just a fluke that 4 or 5 different designers came to me with World War I strategic games, and they were all different.
Exactly. Yeah, they were. So let me just say, since we have more people online right now, I just want to share with everybody. We usually get a large audience on Facebook, and Facebook's having a few issues. It looks like what's happening is only a few comments from Facebook are coming through. So there's a little bit of an interruption in the stream. So Facebook, I want those on Facebook not to think I'm ignoring you with this live session, because the comments might not be coming through. What I might do is actually fire up a separate browser window to see if I can actually pull up comments that way. I just got to make sure the sound isn't on so we don't get double sound. So I'll try to work on the back end. But again, for those on Facebook, I posted a YouTube link simply because on YouTube, everything's working fine. So we have some questions that I want to thank everybody for submitting in advance. I posted a few days ago online a way you could submit questions via video or text. So we did have some questions come in, and this is a time for people to ask questions of you, Bill, or if they have questions for me, that's fine as well. So If you have the list of questions, you're free to read it yourself, or I can actually read off some questions for you. You decide what you prefer.
Okay. I'm just reading off a couple here. When do you decide to put a game up for pre-order? Is it when it's a fairly close to being published? Yes, and that has worked with us for most. Okay, but the problem is there were games that we thought were ready to be published, and they weren't working, so we had to go back to the drawing board. Okay, so there are games that when you see games that are out there for 1 or 2 years on the pre-order, it's because they were close to being done and they had issues, so they had to go back into development. Okay, so we just put up Air and Armor, and we put up Air and Armor and 2 other games that Air and Armor has been being developed for 3 years. Okay, so that's ready to be published in like 3 months. Okay, so we have games that we put up that get published in 3 months or 4 months or 5. Okay, so we try to do our best, but sometimes a game, we think it's further along and then we have to pull it back because it's not right. Okay, so it has to go into further development.
Yep. All right, I'm going to throw some questions at you, Bill, that came in advance via the form. So one question is, could you tell us a little bit more about Euro shipping? So Euro shipping's been asked a lot. Does Compass offer Euro-friendly shipping? That's one of the questions we have from Europe, from UK.
Unfortunately, at this time, we do not. And I'll be honest with you. Okay, and I love my European customers. They're great people. But I've been dealing with EU shipping for some Kickstarter programs, and it's been a mess. I had one game where the EU shipper had it for over 2.5 months, and I couldn't get them to ship it out. Okay, we just did Stellar Horizons. They told me they was going to be shipped a week and a half ago. Okay, then it was going to be shipped next week. I'm emailing them every day. So I don't see, I'll be honest, unless I find the right partner, okay, and I've tried 2 or 3, I don't see that happening. And what I've done, which I don't do Kickstarter, okay, with EU shipping friendly anymore.
Right, and then Michael had a comment online here. Actually, it looks like a Facebook comment came through. Yay! So Michael made the comment here. Yeah, this is sort of running along the lines of what people have been saying. You know, if you earn less selling retail, then obviously it's always better for publishers to sell direct. So why don't you have why don't you just fudge the shipping cost, get it lower, so that helps people buy direct, and maybe that helps you on the profit margin side. I think that's how the question boils down from Michael. Thank you for your question, Michael.
And Michael, that's a great question, but the issue there is when I have to pay to ship those games over. Okay, I have to pay customs. Okay, so when you look at it, it's not cheaper. Okay, and then I have to pay. Okay, it costs me to have these guys do the work to package it and ship it. So when I look at the whole ball of EU shipping, actually costs me a lot of money. Okay, more than what I make when I charge postage. So the problem is if I give a 25% discount off my retail price, okay, and I have to ship those games to Europe, okay, then I have to pay customs. Okay, my God, I'm where I am on retail or less. And the problem is I can't get the product to the people. Okay, outside of the financial piece, it just hasn't flowed well. Okay, in the way that my EU shippers have been able to get the product out in a timely fashion. So there's a two-pronged issue there.
Okay, and then another related question, if you want to take from Eric on YouTube, is it possible to combine orders shipping overseas with other game companies?
Yeah, that's a negative.
Yeah, that's a negative because again, we're in our warehouse packaging things up, and for us to take other products from other publishers, that would turn us into a distributor of sorts, which isn't really part of the business model to take other companies' inventory. You have a great warehouse, by the way. You'll have to talk about, the warehouse property you invested in recently. But yeah, as far as working to take products from other companies or going through a third party, like you said, Bill, that's not something that's really in the realm of possibility in the future. So, but again, we encourage all questions, and Eric's trying to be creative here and see are there other ways for us to break through that Euro shipping question. So appreciate the question, Eric. Some questions have come through on Tricorn, Jacobite Rising. It's on Kickstarter for about another week. And one of the questions was for you, Bill, is there going to be any more levels, reward levels for the game? It's noticed under your update on Kickstarter.
And I can answer that.
Yep.
I can answer that. No, there won't, because there's not a lot of scenarios to begin with in the Jacobite. There weren't a lot of battles to begin with in that war. Okay, so we really included all the small ones. Okay, and like I said, we're doing at this time there won't be any more scenarios added to the Jacobite Kickstarter. Okay, we are doing an expansion kit which do the 3 big battles, Culloden and 2 others that I can't remember their name, but that's going to be in an expansion, so you can play the bigger battles. So okay. I did hear a lot in regards to saying made in the USA on the boxes, and we will be doing that, but we're so far ahead on printing boxes and stuff. Okay, I think that won't happen probably till sometime end of fall with those releases. Okay, that we will start. We did it on our website. Okay, on product pages that we put games that are in the US, or if the dice were made outside, or one component made outside for whatever reason. Okay, those are what I consider made in the US. Okay, and like I said, most of the games are 100%, but we did for cards go to a broker, but we didn't know where he was getting the cards until we found out he was getting the cards in China. Okay, and we no longer use him, but because we paid him and he said, oh yeah, I can get it for this price, and then we found out. But even with that, even with the game with the cards were made in China, the all other 95% of the game was made in the US. And those were not all the card games we did in the US, but a couple did slip through there.
Okay. Another question that came in. Yeah, another question that came in earlier this week was, will Compass sell extra dice or cards for Jacobite Rising separately?
Yeah, we sell components for all our games. Okay, we don't put it on the website. If you ever want components for any of our games, like extra cards, extra counters, okay, we sell those. Okay, you have to email me at sales@compassgames.com. But we do sell components if people want them, and we've been doing that for years. But we just to put it on the website, it's just would be. I'm not going to address that.
Okay.
Our IT guy does a good job, but it sort of mess it up.
Okay, so we're gonna turn this over to the audience for a little bit. So please post your questions, and again, apologies to those on Facebook. I'm not sure those are getting through. So we do have a few questions, so I'll bring those up now. So let me just go here. This one's from Dan Bicaldi. No enemies here. Does client pressure or customers, does that dictate what comes out first as far as products you have? And let's say it's products that might be done already that you have in the warehouse that are, there's a few different games that are done at any point in time. Is there any influence on that?
No,
Okay.
because no, because it depends on, I've got a release schedule in my head, and that's what I go with.
Great. Okay, and then a question from
the second printing.
Question from Jack is about the African campaign. So I hope everybody's subscribed to our newsletter. We try to send out a newsletter once a week, so we're not going to overrun your inbox, but we put a lot of effort into our newsletters, weekly newsletters, and we usually always have something new to share. So one of the things we did in our most recent newsletters, we talked about the 4 pre-orders we added, which are all second printings that we're doing. So I think this question might be coming from that, because African Campaign actually, for some insider info, African Campaign of the 4 pre-orders had the most hits or the most clicks on the email, people looking at that product page. So there's a lot of interest in African Campaign. So the question is, how are you going to approach this this second printing as far as components go, Bill?
Okay, African Campaign will have the corrected counters, okay, like that were provided to the people in the first edition. Okay, we did do extra counter or errata counters and send them out to everybody. And then what we did is the games we had in-house, we opened them up and put them all in. Okay, so first edition people should already have all the errata counters, okay, because they were in the game if we had them in the warehouse, and we mailed them to everybody who had asked. And we actually didn't sell out because we gave it to them, but we actually ran out of them. So it meant that I shipped, okay, my whole print run, because we printed errata, the errata will be put in the game as an errata sheet, okay, because I don't want to get into, oh, they got a rule book with the errata in it, I got an errata sheet. So the second, now, if I decide to do it in China, okay, with a mounted board, okay, then it's a whole new, it's going to be mounted board, it's going to be different counters, okay. That's a decision I haven't made yet, okay. African Campaign is surprisingly, in the reprints, pre-orders on that have been has been quite a few, but I have made the decision if we're going to go to China with that.
Yeah, I wish this is a time that Facebook was working fully, because I'd love to throw out a question to everybody. Just put in a vote for, if there was 2 choices, you could pick one: China mounted map versus, the regular printing, second printing with the paper maps. Which option do you prefer? But I think it's going to favor the YouTube crowd, unfortunately. So probably wouldn't be a fair poll, but maybe in the future we can do some audience polls to see what they think, or they can just email us what they think as well. So, okay, so that's a great update on African Campaign. That obviously, the next print run will have the counters. I don't know if there was a map errata, maybe one small map errata or something. All that gets updated, but the errata sheet will include a errata sheet basically with the game. So let's go back to questions. One comment wasn't really a question, but it was more of a comment, was why aren't there more tactical games from Compass?
Just because designers haven't come with any tactical games for us, okay. And we did do, when we did get it, Combat, okay, that has been one of our best-selling games of all time, okay, and that's done well for us. So we don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with tactical games. I don't particularly. That's not my favorite game. Okay, I'm not into tactical games, but I would publish them. Okay, again, it's really what designers look. I don't really tell designers what to do, okay, because I want them to be invested in their project. So I'd rather have designers who these designers spend years on these on their games. Okay, so I don't tell people what to do, except for Adam. Okay, I tell Adam that I want a game on this topic.
There you go.
Okay, but I do become more of an in-house guy. Okay, so that's the question. That's the answer for that.
Yep. And another question for you, Bill, is when do you expect the release of Combat 2, which that's a module add-on. So you do want to own Combat, the original Combat game. This is an add-on, D-Day to VE Day. So a very, very exciting title. People are really interested in that. So do you have any idea what you would expect for the release date for Combat 2?
Fall.
In the fall?
Yeah. Now, and people say, well, it just went up on pre-order not too long ago. Okay. But again, that's been in the works at the same time they were doing Combat. Okay. So it's been in the works for 3-4 years. Okay. So that's why that's coming out as quickly as it is because, again, it's been in the works, okay, for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a question. Maybe I can take this one from Mark. Thanks for your question, Mark. How do you determine what to reissue as a designer signature edition? Well, if we start from the very beginning, to be honest, I'll put it to you this way. If the game has the copyright license available that we can actually pursue it, that helps. So there's games I would have loved to have done that as far as, following the original. But certain titles, give you an example, most of the SPI games are copyright and the license holder is a different publisher. So they're not available to do those. There's a few games from Victory Games are under the same situation, like Hell's Highway is not available, for example. Another one, which I'd love to do, is The Longest Day from Avalon Hill. That one is also locked up with Hasbro Wizards of the Coast forever. So there's a lot of titles, just to let you know, that we've looked at that I just know aren't available. The workaround, obviously, is you have to change the game enough so it doesn't resemble the original, which sort of defeats the purpose unless the original designer says, I want to change it. So there's that factor as far as what's available. Then what you get into is, okay, which games out there would be suitable candidates for a designer signature edition? And we look at that multiple ways, or I look at that multiple ways. One is I look for the very popular games that are out of print that might be a collectible item. So that's one approach, or maybe really classic games. So for example, one game I really like is Red Star White Eagle from GDW, from Dave Williams, and that's been sought after, and that I thought could really use a new treatment. Another reason games like that could use a new treatment is if there's some pretty nasty errata that just didn't get addressed with the release. So I know for a Red Star White Eagle, there was a deployment map, a separate oversized map that didn't work at all. There were some production errors and it was a throwaway. So right there, you know that there's ways to improve original editions. Another way to improve original editions, or a different approach, is as I get older with my eyesight vision, people like to sort of lean towards larger hexes, larger counters or game pieces. So a lot of these titles we treat as sort of like a deluxe edition. But as far as the overall approach, it really sits with the designer. So we partner with the designer just like we do for new designs. And if a designer says, like Dave Williams, I don't want to touch the original Red Star White Eagle, I'm not going to come in and tell him you have to change the game rules for some reason. It stands on its own. Don't change anything if it's not broken. So that's the approach we took there. But there might be other designs, like I'll give you an example. One that had the most change made so far to date was Forgotten Legions from Vance von Boris, because if you recall, Damascus had a dot-to-dot map system that changed to a hex grid, and then the rules changed a lot. So that was a case where the designer said, I want another swing at the bat, and I want to do some things different with the design. So and that's coming from the designer. So that's the designer's inspiration, that he wants to make things better. So it's really the designer's call how to approach things. And then, of course, with the project team members, we have like Third World War series, and then Frank Chadwick's involved. It's more of a project team effort just to improve the overall game as far as components, so on and so forth. So we've got title ideas from you. Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Yeah.
Let me get to the questions. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you were. Okay. Do I see us doing any FGA games? I would say no. Okay. Not that I didn't buy them. Okay. Because I did. I was looking at them a couple weeks ago. Okay. But now, because no, I don't see us doing any FGA games. Okay. They weren't really, they had issues, and I don't see how you get away with get those issues taken care of without putting in a lot of time and effort. And I'd rather put that into a new game. Okay. Dan had mentioned, okay, what process do you use to get the artwork and cover designed for your game? Do you have a particular group of artists? Yes, we have about 5 artists that we use. Okay. And we don't use any, they're all independent. So they're not companies per se. Okay. But we've got about 5, 6 artists that we use for any of our projects. Okay. What else?
Let's see, some comments from Jack. I would like to put in my vote for non-monster games, so games that maybe take up less space.
And again, we're doing a lot of one map games, okay, that are made in China, okay, but we knew there was people that wanted those one maps, so they're mounted mostly, and so we are doing a lot of one map games. I think we got 4 or 5 of them coming up before the end of the year.
Great. And then there's a comment also from Jack. I finished a game of Europe in Turmoil, and I got to tell you, it's really outstanding. I would like a player's guide for Europe in Turmoil. A player's guide, Bill.
And again, it really depends on the designer. I'll pass that along to him. Okay, but the designer has to be excited about the project. Okay, and so I will. That's a good idea. I'll pass it on to him and see if he would be interested in doing a player's guide.
All right, back to shipping. Matthew, Shirley, again, we're here for you guys. We're gonna really just show every question and comment we can. This is a chance to really engage with you. So Matthew asked about shipping to Latin America. Is that something you've done? South America.
Okay, we haven't had any issues with it. Okay, we don't have a distributor it's mostly direct. Okay, we don't have a distributor down there, but no, we haven't had a problem. What we find out, which is interesting, is under this COVID in the last 2 or 3 months, we have had packages that's a stall overseas. They don't move for months.
Sitting, just sitting. Yeah.
What I've done is I send out another one. Okay, I don't make the customer pay for it, for the shipping, even though it's not my fault. And funny how it becomes my fault with the email. Like I have some control over the post office and how they ship it. Okay, but there's been a delay. I got games that go right through, and then I got games that sit for 2 months. And when you go to the tracking, it says it's in New York. Some of it never gets out of the country. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, it shows up at the door. No. So that's been only since this COVID thing. I've had great success with the post office over the last 10 years, but under this COVID thing and we do have, it slows down in America a little bit too.
Great. But and speaking of things sitting in a warehouse, here's an idea for you for Compass Games Expo, which we have going on right now for November. People are registering for it already. Here's an idea: warehouse tours during Compass Expo. Trip to the warehouse, Bill. Somebody else agrees.
Oh, love to have it.
Do a trip to the warehouse. Show people the warehouse.
It won't be exciting, but I have no problem.
You may throw some pizza in. Throw some pizza in or something.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better convention price-wise. Okay, now that we've gotten the price of the hotel down, we charge $45. We pay for, and you get 50% off of every game. So that pays for itself. And like I said, you can play any game. It's not just Compass Games. You're there to play whatever you want to play.
Yeah, any game, absolutely. And then thanks, Dan of No Enemies Here. He's pre-ordered the combat expansion, which you said will be shipping in the fall. So that's good news. Let's see here. Hexes and Soldiers. The success of combat should let you know that we are hungry for more tactical games. That makes sense.
I agree. If I can them, I do them. I know they're working on, it's the same system, but they're working on the Eastern Front will be the next combat. But no, if a designer sends me a good thing, I have no problem publishing more.
Okay, great.
I'll publish 4 or 5 things on the same thing. So I have no problem with that.
Somebody was asking, I'm not finding it right now. They were asking, is there a certain type of battle or, what do you like for games, Bill, yourself? What games, genre of games do you like?
Oh, obviously, it changes. At the time, I loved World War I. Okay, World War I strategic is one of my favorites. Okay, but I go all over the place. Okay, it depends on the day, I guess.
Here we go. I found the question. Sorry, what's your preferred war battle time from Dan? So good question, Dan. Figure out what Bill likes. If Bill likes it, chances are it's going to be published. So let's go a little bit deeper with you, Bill, a little bit behind the scenes. So let's say that you get a game project. Sometimes we have conversations about this. You can share it with others. When there's a game that's submitted, there's certain things you ask for. And if you don't remember, I'm going to bring it up. But there's certain things you like to see in games that we publish. Like if it's not there, try to add it. So
it's one thing. It's one thing. It's solitaire suitability. Okay, if it doesn't have solitaire suitability, okay, those are games. Well, I publish those games too, but those are games that I don't like publishing. Okay, because I like to because my assumption is people play like I do, which is 70-80% solitaire. Okay, it doesn't have to be a solitaire system, but you can't have hit movement, and if you do, you need to. Now, what I did with Korean War, which was the biggest, my issue with Korean War was there was no historical. If you remember Victory's game, there was no historical startup on where you start in the mobilization, the escalation, and the intervention. So one of the things I talked to Joe about, the designer, was I wanted to put in there what the historical start points were, so people wouldn't have to figure out where to start it and where the historical mobilization, if it was a 4 on the track, what month that was. Okay, so, and I do this all the time. When people say they have a game with free setup, I always say, well, I want a historical setup too, because I don't think people always have the time to do free setups. I don't not give them free setups, but I like historical setups because it's quick. You can set it up. You don't have to spend a lot of time. Okay. Jack had asked a question here about your process when it comes to proofreading. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Proofreading. We have independent people proofread our stuff. Okay. I hear some stuff online like we don't have anybody proofread our stuff. Okay. We have 2 or 3 people that proofread it independently before the game comes out. Okay. And we're trying to get better. I've been trying to tighten up quality control, okay, to try to get the errors down. Okay. But okay. And yeah, it's just, it doesn't always work, which is a shame, but yes.
I'm going to share something on that question. Let me do this. So I'm going to share my screen just for a second. So hang with me. And so I just want to give you an idea of proofing. So great question. So a week ago, I posted, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I posted a request for proofers, outside proofers, and this is just for the counter sheets for Fall of Tobruk. So here's a reason why it's really good to have a strong community of people that, you know, are supporting a company. Is it's not every company is going to have a list of proofers and volunteers this big. So this is literally, as far as QA, quality control, I have over 20 people that volunteered inside of a week to proofread 5 counter sheets for Fall of Tobruk. And they're doing it actively right now. And that's with Chris Fawcett. So I'm showing this for several reasons. One is that you guys really are very powerful influence on the quality of the games, because we're very eager to include people in the quality process. It's very rare we're going to turn people away to help us do proofing. So you can see here we have a large list of people. And again, it's just wonderful that, again, you can see we have a dedicated forum. We have group chat going on. We have a message board. You know, everybody's going through this proofing process. So, you know, all the files are posted here. So, you know, proofing is very important to us. And again, you know, and for rules proofing, you know, we have also editors, individual editors involved. So there's many people, many moving parts, but it's great having, I agree with Bill, it's great to have proofers to provide help for us. So great question on that one. So I think there was another long question. I just want to see if it can fit on screen. So I'm going to show this question just to see if it actually, I want to see what the screen's going to do when I show this. Yeah, that's Jack. Really, that's really impressive. So I don't even know if I can read all this through. I'm going to try to paraphrase here, but you have a question about proofreading process. So we're still talking about proofreading. Do you rely on a project team? Yes,
Yeah,
you
that's
saw
what
we talked about that, volunteers. I asked because there's been a number of horrible catastrophes, not Compass, thankfully. Oh, thank God. I say thank you as well, because the team was too close to the project. In other words, you were blinded. People are so close to projects, they can't see anymore. So I get that. I know directly because of one major company has hired third-party proofers. So if you do not do this, do you? And then I think it went
John,
into his next question. So there you go. Long question.
that's what I answered, John, but that's good.
That's the long one. Yeah, he had a two-parter. Was down here too. Here was this. This was his abridged version. There was the unabridged version. This is the abridged version. So excellent question though. Yeah, they're volunteers, which is great to see. So let's see if there's other questions. So one thing I'm going to do is, yeah, if there's examples. Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Mm-hmm.
Do vassal modules hurt or help your sales? To be honest, I think they hurt it. Okay. There's some people think they help it. Okay. I don't know really how to track it very much. Okay. So I don't know how you can really say, but I'm under personal opinion that it hurts it to a degree. But then but if I don't do it, people get mad. So I do it. Okay, so I don't know if it hurts or helps, I guess, is my answer to that.
All right. There was a game. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Did the GMT cancellation of the African colonialism game affect your decision process? No, because we actually published colonialism.
Oh, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. That's sort of like mic drop, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, no. I'll be honest. I focus on Compass. Okay. I don't. Other companies can do what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. But like I said, we publish colonialism, which is not exactly the same type game, but it is in that genre.
Let's see. This one just came up from Andy. A good point. I did ship forms on a CD that was produced by another company. They look great on the computer, but the printing was off. They were very small. I had to redo them and put them on a Yahoo group, which is after print. It sounds like you have to put something online like a PDF after print. So yeah, stuff can, have you had that experience, Bill, where something was sort of looked a certain way on the computer, sort of pre-flight check, but then something happened with the printer, didn't quite work out? Have you had examples of that?
One of my issues is I like to see the paper. Okay. I can't look at counters online or on the computer and check anything. I need to have it printed out. Okay. And that's just because I'm old and I just don't like I like to see the printed version where my son doesn't print anything. Okay. He can do it online, Julian, and all the young people we have involved. Okay, why are you printing out? That's a waste. I do it online. Well, me and my wife still print stuff out. But the young kids today, they don't do that. They can work it online and they don't have a problem with it.
Okay, and then there was another question, I believe, somebody asking about YouTube clips. Do you think YouTube tutorials help a game? I'll try to find that comment in here, but somebody said they saw Stuka Joe did a video that made them purchase Red Poppies because they really liked the job that he did on the video. So what are your thoughts, Bill, about YouTube, about videos in general to promote Compass and its games?
I think I don't think up until probably 3-4 months ago, I would say no. Okay, I didn't do a lot of it. Okay, I didn't send review copies because I got burned so many times. Now I've changed my whole attitude. Okay, I think they do help. I think unboxing, I think all the stuff we get from Stellar Horizons, I see a pickup in sales every time there's a video of our game being done. Okay, so yes, they do help, and we're using them more and more than we ever have in the past.
Great. And Andy's asking, Blue Water Navy is great. I know that's one of our big sellers. When's the Pacific game coming using that system?
Yeah, it's being worked on. Okay, the designer is working on it and says and we've got some development going on. We might have it handed over sometime in the fall, I would say, depending on the designer, but that's progressing very nicely.
Great. Okay. And then I think somebody asked earlier about what's the status on Siege of Jerusalem, and right now that one's sort of on the back burner just because there's so many projects that are stacked up. But we do have a project team assembled for Siege of Jerusalem, and I'll try to get an update to you guys in the next 30 days on that one. So hope to have some progress on Siege of Jerusalem to share in the next month. Here's another question from Custer. Have you thought of doing computer games?
Oh yeah, didn't work out. So we have gone that route for a little bit, but right now we're concentrating on getting everything where we want it with Compass and the board games.
Okay. Jack wants to know, do you have proofers on your payroll of the company? Proofers of game projects?
No, we have them as independent contractors. Okay, we do. Most of them are volunteers. Okay, and most of them, and outside, and I remember when the Compass team, and I think this is important. Okay, there'd be one person on the Compass team that doesn't even see the project. Okay, so he doesn't even see it for the whole length of the project. Okay, so when he gets it, okay, it's like a whole new fresh set of eyes on that project. Okay, and that's really what we use as like an extra proofer. So he's not, it's not that he's seen the project and just seeing what he wants to see on the page because he's seen it so many times. So we do have, and most of the Compass team is all paid employees. Okay, so but when I say there are people on the Compass team that don't even see the project till the end, and then they look at it and review it at the end.
All right. Can you share any news from Michael? Can you share some news about a Silent War reprint?
Yes, it's actually in the works, and it's going to be China Deluxe Edition with mounted maps, the whole work, and IJN will be folded into it.
Great. Okay, I want to make sure I don't miss any comments here, Bill. So we're going to be wrapping up. So comment from Red. He loves the titles, especially on the more obscure campaigns like Forgotten Legions and Line of Judah. So a hat tip for doing some obscure titles from Red. So that's great to see. Let me see if there's any other questions. I think actually we've covered all the questions. I apologize if I missed any. So I did a last call for questions here. Here's one. Wow. Bonus points to Bill for 2 a.m. in the UK. He's joining us. Any hints on the next enemy action game after Kharkov? And thank you, Bill, for mentioning Enemy Action Ardennes was your best purchase in years. So thank you for that positive feedback.
It's actually Operation Market Garden is the next one.
Great. So Bill, I hope that was worth staying up till 2 a.m. I think it was. Anything involving John Butterfield. So Operation Market Garden will follow as an enemy action title. That will be the next one. Question from see here. Actually, I just skipped here. So Custer asked, Avalon Hill used to do movie ties-ins. So they would do games based around movie releases like Platoon, James Bond. Have you thought of doing movie tie-ins with like Greyhound from Tom Hanks, that sub game coming up? So have you thought about what's happening with movie releases in the future, and do we need a game to coincide with it, is the question. Interesting question. I didn't think about that. But
yeah, I think I'll take the 5th. I've never really thought about it, so maybe that will make me think about it.
Great. And then Mark's excited. He says he's got Silent War and IGN, but he would love to buy Deluxe Edition. So, and then somebody else says sold. So good sales job, Bill. You're done for the night. You sold something there. So your work has done, right? Best guess on a release date for Third World War. That's a huge project, which has, I'm happily to say, progress has been continuing at a non-stop clip. So we just finished all the player aid cards, and that was about a 2-month effort we just went through. So counter sheets are done, maps are done, player aid cards are done. Sounds like we're getting close, right? it's getting exciting. So what's left is we have some displays to do, like the reinforcement displays, you know, anything to do with setup, things like that. So we have displays, and then the last step will be 4 rule booklets, because there's 4 games in one package. So, but it's been going great. The project team posts every day about Third World War, and we're making progress. It's just such a big project, you know, that just takes a while. So, but we're excited about that one. Thumbs up for Market Garden from John Butterfield. Also, Jack says he'll buy anything from Eric Lee Smith, Butterfield, Ben Madison, or Frank Chadwick. So I should mention that it's going to be a ways away, but if you're familiar with GDW's Monster Operation Crusader from, I think it's the late 70s, I want to say, actually has one of my favorite box covers. It's really nice box cover to that game. But we're working on that right now with Frank Chadwick. But it's got a pretty long runway. It's going to take a while to finish, but it's solving the problem that Bill mentioned earlier. So Bill says he hates like the plotted movement or things that are hidden that affect solitaire play. Frank agrees with you, Bill. So Frank Chadwick's changed Crusader, the version we're doing, where there's no more plotting, pre-plotting of movement, which is a lot of manual effort. So that's going to go away, and a lot of people, I think, are going to be happy about that. Next question is from, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me answer that, Stephen. Okay, I'll be honest. Okay, there are games we could have done better with errata. Okay, but I don't know of very many games that have what you say is a lot of errata. Okay, I hear it about combat, but combat were clarifications. Okay, and there's not a lot of errata. Okay, there is errata, and please, I'm the first to say it has nothing to do with outside playtesting. Okay, there is no lack of outside playtesting. Okay, we playtest the game for, and this is a misnomer out there. Okay, and it's amazing. I get games from other game companies that have errata, and they're thought of as different. Okay, that I get games from the major companies that have errata. We do big games. Okay, we do massive games. Okay, and combat was 6 counter sheets, 4 maps, or whatever. Okay, very few companies release the amount of games we release. But I agree, errata isn't clarification, but when you see the errata sheet, it includes the clear. So I look, I'm there. We need to do better. I'm not unhappy with any errata, but to say that we have lack of play testing, oh my God, our games are play tested for 3-4. These games are in the works for 3-4 years. Okay, I think what happens is people, I think there is a misconception out there, is how can this company with made in USA, no pre-order system, okay, how can we produce, okay, more games than the leader of the industry? Well, here's why, okay, and here's where I get a little bit, because I hear it all the time. First, they hit us where we're high priced, okay, but they didn't know that we were made in America. Then they hit us with, now with, oh, you guys don't develop the game. You guys don't play test the game. That's how you do it. You just publish without doing that, okay? Because they don't know how we as a company can outproduce, okay, and do quality games. I go on Board Game Geek, okay, our games are rated 8.5, 8.2, okay? Yes, I agree. We have errata. I hate it, okay? But it's not because of lack of playtesting, okay? And then it's not lack of development. It's sometimes, and again, folder gap, 9 counter sheets. The game is huge. Nobody even publishes these type games, and we do. And unfortunately, when you're doing 9 counter sheets of counters, and it's tough errata comes in. Okay, but we do play. It's a misnomer out there that we play test our games, we develop our games, and it's just another way of people who say, hey, Compass can't be doing what they're doing, so they're not doing it right. Okay, so that's why these are very important conversations we're having, because you're talking to the guy who is in it every day and knows that we are different. Okay, and I agree, Stephen. We do have, okay, errata. But it's funny, I get emails, oh, this has errata. I go to 10 games that I bought, because I buy competitor games, okay? And I look at the errata they have, especially certain companies get a free pass all the time, okay? And I say, these people are, and my game's 3 times the size of theirs, okay? And I think what people, like I said, there's the other point I want to make, and we'll talk about this in the future. Compass was unknown. Compass had nobody who knew us. Okay, we're not the elites of the industry. Okay, we don't know any elites of the industry. The first one we ever got was John, and that was way into our life. So we've done it, and people keep saying, "How are you doing it? How can you do it?" And games sit up with pre-orders of thousands of games and don't come out. But that, I just want to tell you, we actually have play testers outside on top of the Compass team play testing it and developing it. Okay, what I don't do, and I'll be honest, is I don't like to, if a designer gives me a game, okay, and it plays well, I'm not a developer who I'm out to change it because I want the game I want it to be. Okay, I take the designer's game and make it better, or not I, but the team. Okay, I don't say to the designer, well, we're going to redesign your game because I want it to be my game. Okay, if I want that to do, I design my own game. So I hope that answered questions. And like I said, these are the questions I want to hear, because I hear it, and I just don't at times. And that's not to say I'm egotistical and we don't make mistakes, because we do. And I've sent out errata counters when we made mistakes. I pulled. Here's what's funny is I still get the issue about combat. The combat 2 counter sheets were sent out to only the pre-orders. It was an error in the printing process. Okay, we held off all distribution of it. We sent them out to everybody and put them in all the games, and I still get that there was something wrong with that. Okay, and I don't understand why, because yes, you had to sit on the game for an extra month and a half before you could play it, but we mailed it out, and I agree, things are, and I agree with what this person said, is map errata really bugs me. Okay, and I'll tell you what game I bugs me to this day. Okay, is No Peace.
No
Okay,
Peace Without
No
Spain.
Peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no change. We went to a deluxe version. There was no change at all to the map. Okay, it's an area movement map. Okay, so at the last minute, the artist, okay, for some reason I'm not going to get into, okay, leave something off. But it was on the map he was working with. So, and then the thing gets printed, okay, and my point is, I go back to and here's what I said. I go back to the artist, and I said to him, I go, this is, you want to say something to me? I think you owe me some kind of apology, at least, or just say, hey, I made a mistake. And know what his answer was? His answer was, well, there's 3 or 4 people that are checking it. So it's really not mine. I'm the low man on the phone call. And I went back to him and I go, I pay you a fee to be a professional artist. Okay, I don't expect you. Look, mistakes happen all the time. but admit to the mistake, and we're a team. So I'm not saying because it was a reprint of a map, okay, I would have never thought, and this is a learning experience for me. Okay, I didn't double check it. Okay, I had one person in the office double check it, and he didn't do it. He didn't catch it, because he didn't look at it. Okay, but that is how it's just unbelievable how that's his response. I'm paying him a fee, and his response to me was, well, it's not my job to do a good job because, man, somebody's going to catch it. Okay. And so I don't use him. Okay. And he had a couple more projects he was working on, but I'll tell you, and then we have another guy who's just made an error. Okay. And when I say here, I'm not pointing out it as he made it. I take everything that we all make it, even if we're okay. But you have to own responsibility at every level. Okay. And this artist was shaken up. He was very upset. And you could tell. And he's going to do his best. He understood that he's part of a team. And John, was he not upset?
That's real important. So we work with a lot of people at Compass, and really what really puts people above the top for us is not their output, but it's really the amount of caring for the customer or responsibility for what they've done, and realizing, if you do mess up, that at least you care about it, so we know you'll learn from it. So we did have a recent error that could have been avoided. And, but what was nice was the artist said, yes, this, I feel horrible about it. And that's sort of how we all feel. We always feel horrible when there's errata. We never feel good. Do we ever feel good about errata? Hey, Bill, look, I found errata. Isn't this great? So it's never like that. But, sometimes people don't care about errata. That I think is a dangerous thing when you have, say, designers or people that you really have to hold up at a higher level, that you really need the designer to get the game right, because they're creating the counter manifest that the artist is going to follow. And they're doing the rules, and they're making sure there's no holes in the rules. So imagine, if you will, if you have a designer out there or a key person of a project who basically accepts the premise that errata is okay, which means I can maybe not be so careful in proofing things, and maybe it's not that critical and it's okay, don't worry about it. That's a problem for us. That's a problem for Bill. It's a problem for me. But again, this artist example, Bill, you're right. He does care. He did care, and I know he's going to learn from it. So it's good to be working with people like that. I agree with you.
And what I'll say, and I'm not defending us at all, because we made an error that my son will tell you, okay, for 2 nights, okay, because my mind is how to fix the problem and how it happened. Okay, is the funny thing is, okay, again, I think that we do have a rat, and I don't know, but I look, whenever anybody says anything, I go to my other games, and it's just incredible how Compass continues to be, okay, with people. There's a certain group of people in this industry, okay, that continue to not understand how we do what we do, and they compare themselves, okay, they compare us, and that's my problem, is other people are held to different standards than we are. Okay, and that's fine. I'm not here to cry. I'm not here to say anything. I'm just here to tell you that there is a different standard. Okay, and that I've heard it. Okay, I've heard it with pricing for years. And when the pricing hasn't worked, okay, because we still sell games and we're still here, okay, then they go to something else. And I get the emails from people that, and it's what it is. And I'm not saying that. And that's why I think there's people, look, errata is something I don't like. Okay. And I just want to say that is my biggest, John can tell you, my son can tell you that, nothing irritates me. It
irritates all of us. And the thing that's horrible about errata is, as much as we hate it and we learn from it, there's still going to be errata in the future. Like, it's the concept that you'll never have zero errata It's really, it's something that you can be so frustrated over and over again, no matter how many proofers you have. It's still bound to happen, it seems, even though we don't want it to happen, and we're always trying for it not to happen. So that's why it's maddening. And I think just people have to understand. I think it'd be setting a bar of expectation too high to have no errata for games. I think that's just tough for any company. I think it's important for people to understand when there's errata, like you said, you're sleepless for 2 nights trying to figure out what to do about, how to fix this or do that. I'm sleepless because how did this slip through? I wish I had caught it somehow, or I don't know how to equate it to real life. It's painful. It's a painful thing that we don't enjoy experiencing. I guess like going to the dentist every year or some checkup, right? You just hate doing it, but yeah, it happens. Let's see here. So one other question I saw was somebody was saying about the artist. So there was a comment here about an artist. Yeah. So Eric, this is a great comment from Eric. And actually, Eric, yeah, this is something I always try to do for the projects I manage is, the artist always has access to the rules draft. Of course, they have the counter manifest and everything, but you can't work on counters without really knowing from the designer what the rules are going to be, then having discussions of the proper layout, how to do the map. I'm big into mnemonics, so things to put on map and counters to help with play, so you don't have to look up stuff in the rules, but have it right there on the actual components. And this happens a lot with the designer signature edition, actually. So we get people together, not just the artist, but the project team members have tons of experience with the game that is getting a new edition. So they've got all those hundreds of hours of play experience in some cases, all coming together of knowing exactly what they think the game needs to be better without changing the rules necessarily. So great comment from Eric on that. Let's see if there's any other.
Somebody on Kickstarter for Stellar Horizons saying, here was a comment, what right does Compass have to produce a space game? That's what a guy said to us, okay, on Kickstarter. And he just kept saying, oh, this is ridiculous. Compass Games doesn't know anything about this. What right do they have to produce a space game? We get this negativity, okay? It's incredible. This has been going on for years, okay? We get this negativity all across the board, okay, with people who, again, but when it comes down to it, we have a group of customers that have been with us for a long time that keep buying our games. And to those, I say thank you. The new customers, we get our direct customers buying direct from us are increasing at, my God, last year they increased over 150%. Okay, so we're selling games. And like I said, we couldn't do without you. Everything you guys are doing, okay, and keep buying our games.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just get out there for a little.
I agree, but that's what the guy said. We had no right to do it.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was on Kickstarter for another game, or something happened, and the person was saying, "How dare you do a space game? You're a war game company. How do you feel you have a right to do that and infringe in this market?" That was an interesting. We get all kinds of comments. And one thing I think is a misnomer is, like you said, Bill, earlier about the production schedule and how we do output of 24, 25 plus titles a year. That's where people are going to think, things got to be rushed because, also if you look at in the past, some people said 3W was rushed. People look at FGA. Was that ever even looked at? In some cases, was, beyond the initial rules draft, maybe it was never even looked at. But yeah, I understand the sense from people that how can you do so many games and not be rushed? And really, it goes back to what you said, Bill, about, there is a long runway to before we even get these games. Sometimes the games may have been worked on for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years already and play tested a lot and at conventions. And so we do get a lot of games that have been in the works for several years before maybe even our pre-order goes up and then the game's published in 3 months. So they think it was rushed. But there's this whole, it's like the iceberg. You don't know how deep the iceberg is under the water. You just see the tip of the iceberg above the water, but you don't see the 90% underneath the water line. And that's typically what's happening with these designs is there's this 90% underneath that has happened that nobody knows about. It's less likely to know about.
And I do think that it's all about systems. And if you have good systems in place, and they need tweaking, obviously, we tweak them every day. Okay. If you have good systems in place, it works. Okay. And that's what we have is good systems, and they need to be tweaked every once in a while. And we do tweak them, but I don't fixate on the haters. Okay. I don't fixate on the haters. Okay. What I do is that kind of negativity just helps me become better. Okay, I know that's ironic, but I read those and take people to heart. I take it to heart, not because I'm fixated on it, but because I say, okay, I'm going to be better. Okay, and it makes me go to different levels. Okay, to prove them wrong. Okay, so I don't think it's a fixation. I think there's a lot of things that the industry doesn't know about Compass. And I'm not a marketing guy. Okay, I'm a finance guy. I own numerous businesses, not war game businesses. I own other businesses. And so I'm not a guy to put myself out there in any of my businesses over the last 30, 40 years. Okay. And my thing is, I think you guys would like to hear things that are happening and talk directly to me. And John can tell you, when he first met me, I said, I don't want to do this. Right, John?
Tried for over 2 years. What are you talking about? A little bit. Over 2 years, I've said, Bill, we really need to get you talking to clients, and they need to know how you pour your heart into this and how you lose sleep some nights, because I know about all that behind the scenes. But I think it's important for people to know that you care.
Right? Do I ever yell at you, John?
Sure. Yeah, but that's okay. I don't mind. It's deserved. It's deserved. So I don't.
But no, John's great, and I think we're doing a great job. We appreciate everything you do, and we can talk. There's a lot of stuff. I'm an open book. There are things I don't do right. There are things I do right, but I want to share with you guys because you guys are part of what made us successful, and I have no problem putting myself out there now because again, everybody knows the MMP guys. Everybody knows the GMT guys. Everybody knows Decision. Nobody knows us. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows. Well, they know John, but they don't know me. Okay, and Mo said it exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make a connection to our customers. Okay, because I think that's something that Compass has never done, and I hope you find these useful. And I hope you keep coming back and I'll answer a lot of questions. And like I said, negative, I might be passionate about some of the questions I get asked.
That's all right. That's what we want.
Yeah. This is, and I keep saying this years, and especially the last 2 or 3 years working with my son, this is the business that I love the most. Okay, I have more passion for this business than the other 3 or 4 that I'm involved in now. Okay, because this is a dream come true. It really is. And to have my son working for me, and when I kick the bucket, okay, he'll be able to take over. Okay, and that's very important because if my son was not here to take over, I wouldn't be doing. Compass would be releasing 2 games a year, and we'd be. Because I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for my son to carry on going forward. So I appreciate again everything you guys are doing, and keep buying our games. And Brief Border Wars is shipping on Monday, and it's a totally made in USA product. So
yeah, that's worth mentioning. Brief Border Wars, which you see right here above me. We did an interview last week with Brian Train that you can find on our YouTube channel, so please check it out. We're shipping Brief Border Wars next week. We're also looking for help. If you have any ideas for battles around Brief Border Wars, Brian Train is looking for any suggestions from anybody. If you have some ideas that are post-World War II battles in particular. And as Bill mentioned earlier, so War and Pieces, we've got some things coming up with Rob Oren at War and Pieces. He is doing an interview a week from today, next Thursday, with Andrew Rader, who's the designer for Stellar Horizons. So look for that next Thursday. And then Mo's Game Table, we'll be looking to schedule with Bill Thomas. He'll be doing interview with Mo next month in July. Sometime in July, we'll be doing that. So also just want to mention briefly for next week, our next broadcast, we'll have Joe Bukowski as our special guest. So I'm going to be having conversations with Joe Bukowski about the Korean War as we're making great progress to wrap up that game. I will be posting announcements for next, I think it'll be on Thursday, again, a week from today. We'll be looking to schedule Bukowski, and hopefully we won't conflict with Rob's interview with Andrew Rader for Stellar Horizons. So with that, I'll let you close out. Yeah, Bill?
Okay, I wanted to answer a couple quick questions. Somebody asked if Command and Colors was coming out for the 7 Years' War. Not at the time. No plan. Okay, then somebody asked if there was a Command and Colors English Civil War in the plans. No, not by us. Okay, if somebody else is doing it, because I think we only own or have the rights to a certain period of time. And that goes from the Revolutionary War, Jacobite, and maybe up to War of 1812 and stuff like that. So those are things, but we don't have the rights to publish the English Civil War. So maybe somebody else is going to be doing that. Okay, so those were a couple questions that we were emailed. And then it says, why the high cost of shipping costs to UK? Why so high? Okay, Command and Colors is about an 8-pound box. Okay, and to ship it overseas post office cost about $65 to ship it overseas. So that's why it's all weight driven. Okay, I don't make any money on shipping. Okay, I actually lose a little bit of money on that because it is what it is. But I don't think people really understand how the weight of a game has a very big impact on. And the funny thing is, which is interesting, and I'll stop at this. Okay, if I mail a package overseas that's under 3 pounds, okay, it can go first class international, which is about $33. Okay, if it's 3.1 pounds, if it goes over 3 pounds, it gets put into it has to go priority mail. First class mail is not even an option anymore. And it goes up to like $45 for that 1 ounce. Okay, so know what, John? Your dog's barking. My dog's sleeping here snoring.
That's the problem. This is the problem when you have Frenchies. They very lovable dogs, and they don't like it when they don't get attention. So
give them attention. Right?
Yeah, that's right. There we go. I think he's okay now. So no, this was wonderful, Bill. And this was our first chance to do a town hall. So our plan is to do the town halls on a biweekly schedule every 2 weeks. That way on the off week, I can focus on doing designer interviews and other updates about the release schedule at Compass. This is going to be dedicated really for you, that you're going to drive these sessions, and how long they go will be based on the questions you give us, etc. So I'm looking forward to having Bill join us again in 2 weeks for Town Hall number 2. And then if we can improve the format and whatever we can do to make it more entertaining and valuable for everybody to be joining us, especially from the UK at 2 a.m., I want to make sure it's worth his time.
Well, thanks, guys, for sharing your time with us. And hopefully you had a good time. And we'll be doing more stuff. And I think you'll find some interesting stuff. And if you don't, then I'm sorry.
There you go.
You're boring. Yeah,
it's all your fault.
Boring. What?
It's all your fault.
Yeah, it's all my fault. And Australian 11 a.m. That's in the wow, it's a new day there.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a new day at Compass every day with new titles, and more pre-orders are coming. I'm working on. How's that for a tie-in for marketing? Yeah, a new day, a new direction. More pre-orders are coming, guys. Trust me.
Right now, we have a lot of surprises for them.
That's right. We have a lot of stuff in the pipeline that we're going to be announcing in the next few weeks. So again, everybody, thank you so much for your time tonight. Again, apologies for the Facebook connection. We didn't get all the comments on Facebook like I hoped, but that will be resolved for the next time. I'm confident about that. So thanks again for joining us. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you next week with Joe Bukowski. Thanks, Bill.
Yep.